Hello, everybody, and welcome to Game a Day, the show where I play a game and talk to you. Today, we're going to be playing Garfield, Caught in the Act. It's a really fun action platformer. You will not be disappointed unless you expect me to do well. Then in that case, maybe just close your eyes and listen to me talk about the game. But with that said, let's go ahead and let's play Garfield, Caught in the Act.
We're environmentally sound. All of today's jokes are recycled from last week's show.
So I want to start out by saying I'm a huge Garfield fan. I had this game when I was a kid, and a lot of people know him just as a fat orange cat who loves lasagna and hates Mondays. Very surface level, very understandable with where the brand is at this point in time. If you're a little more knowledgeable, you'll know he has a dog, Odie, pictured above, and his owner, John Arbuckle. If you're a really big fan, like I am... Oh, and by the way, this is my favorite frame. That is just so cool looking for a Garfield game, just in general, but especially a Garfield game. That's a great looking villain. So if you're a big fan, you'll probably know the peripheral characters. Arlene, Pookie, the mice, John's old roommate or old friend. Now I can't remember, so I don't sound like as big of a fan as I am. And let me start off by saying, too, about this game. I'm not going to talk about it really until the ending, probably. The game looks fantastic. It's for Sega Genesis. Look at how great Garfield looks. The animation is really fluid. I'll talk more about it at the end. But I do want to give kind of my Garfield retrospective here. So, I'm a huge fan. And a lot of people would think, that's ridiculous. That's just silly. How can you be a big fan of Garfield? Growing up, there was three things that, as a kid, you start to find an obsession. Maybe it's with music, maybe it's with cartoons, maybe it's with movies. I know people who like Edward Scissorhands, or they liked Green Day a lot, or I'm just giving you examples of things people don't actually like, but that they might in this case. So, I had three of them. My number one, forever, is Sonic the Hedgehog. Love Sonic the Hedgehog. I got the hat, I got the shirts, I got the socks, I got too much. The second thing that I loved was Godzilla. The old movies, they're great. They're just a lot of fun, especially as a kid. I'd watch those tapes over and over. The third thing was Garfield. Now, this was pre-internet, so everything that I could get my hands on was a way to discover more about the character, which I had a blast doing. I loved Garfield from the comics, and it was just such a fun thing as a kid to be able to get into, because my dad would give me the newspaper to read, and he'd want me to read up on current events and the news going on in the world, which is very admirable, and it's very ahead of the times. But it's tough to get a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old to not immediately go for the funnies. That's what I call them, the funnies, because I guess the funny pages. So I read all the comics, and I always had this affinity for Garfield. I liked his attitude. He was different. A lot of cartoon characters were about, look at these wacky adventures we're having. Check out all the crazy cartoonish things that we can do. And Garfield would occasionally do that. He would kick Odie off the table. He would eat lasagna and his hands would be a blur. Fun stuff. But there was also this, I think the best way to describe it is as a slice of life feel to it. Like, there were cartoonish elements, but for the most part, and again, this is when I was growing up, I know the cartoon has changed a lot since, there was always a sense of almost like an animated Seinfeld, where there was a lot of small minutia that the characters really dealt with. I know now it's almost a parody of itself how Garfield hates Mondays. But things like that, where, you know, he hates Mondays, he loves lasagna, but it's really about the malaise of having to get up for a work week, having to do things you don't want to, overeating. Think about that. It's just a funny joke now. Oh, and I hated this one growing up, having to defeat Count Slobula. I hate the bats. I hate the bats because they're so hard to hit. They just fly all over the place. They have no discernible pattern. Thank goodness we got one here. I could never figure out how to do this as a kid. I had to look it up later as an adult. I might have gotten it accidentally, but I definitely had to look it up this time to remember because I played it a quick playthrough right before, and I got stuck again as an adult. So, it's, yeah. So anyway. So, a lot of it, you know, you have a character who overeats, and it's a funny way to look at it that he's, you know, he's plus size and proud, which is, how is he not the role model for today? But anyway, so you have this character who is really, in my opinion, ahead of the curve. I mean, everybody knows that he's snarky, he's got an attitude, he's always making fun of John, but really, it's a really mature comic, a really mature, especially Sunday comic. Now, it's not going to be like Doonesbury, where it's all political leaning, but it's a very everyday kind of feel in a way that a lot of others weren't. Like, I like Charlie Brown, I like Calvin and Hobbes, and Garfield. And I know it's almost sacrilege for people to put Garfield in the same category as those, and I'm mostly speaking to the older cartoons, the older comic strips. I believe that it was in the same league as those early Peanuts and early Calvin and Hobbes, and just in general. But I was a huge Garfield fan, and I still am. I love the character. I love what it stands for with subtext. I don't watch the new cartoons, or I don't watch the, I don't really read the comic. If it pops up, I'll take a look at it, and it's usually good for it's a comfort food at this point. I mean, how can you see something Garfield related and not know immediately what it stands for? Because you know what you're going to get. He's going to hate Mondays next week. He's going to hate lasagna next year. You're going to get the same consistency there. Oh, these were always fun. I really liked doing these levels, the whack-a-mole levels. Oh, great. Too bad I'm terrible at them. So, for me, as I was saying, huge Garfield fan. And I was at the perfect age where Garfield merchandising was hot and heavy. I mean, this is just a few. I had to write this down because I wanted to just give you an idea of some of the stuff I owned. This is a fraction of what was actually available to people. But I had, well, first of all, I'd read the comics, I'd cut them out, and I would color them because I love Garfield. And I mean, what, you really only need one crayon, orange. I would also cut out the Sunday strips, which is always a big deal because the panels are normally 3 strips long, and they would go to about 7 or 8 strips, which is more Garfield, twice as much. What? This is amazing. So, all right, we're doing, the pirates. Okay, great. I love this. I have to talk about this later. The pirate level in Garfield. And I love, it's cute how he has the wooden sword. So, I would cut out the newspaper strip, I would cut out the Sunday strip, I'd color the 3-panel black and white strip. I would also have the Garfield comic books, the comic collections, the Garfield treasuries, the comic a day calendar, the Garfield pencil hugger, the Garfield video game, which we're playing right now, the Garfield superhero books, the Garfield VHS tapes, the Garfield stickers. I watched the TV show, Garfield and Friends, the Garfield joke books, both Garfield movies I saw, the Garfield window cling, and I watched the TV holiday specials, the Halloween and Christmas special, and the spin-off books, and the spin-off movies. That's not even a fraction of what is available Garfield-wise. I didn't have any Garfield clothes that I might have had a shirt, actually. Add the shirt to the list. But I didn't have any Garfield mugs. I didn't have any Garfield. I don't even know what they had. They probably had Garfield cigarette lighters at some point, at least in the 80s. But yeah, I had a lot of Garfield stuff. And I still have the window cling. I still have that hanging on my mirror in my room, which I gotta admit I'm pretty proud of. It's not one of the old school ones which I used to have, but it was one of the new ones. And And I think that the Garfield merchandising, as many millions as it makes every year, it did hurt the creative integrity of the brand, even though it was good for a long time. And it's still, again, it's comfort food. It's good for an occasional laugh, for a, oh yeah, Garfield. But I think one of the places that doesn't get enough credit, where the Garfield brand really shines on its own, are the animated holiday specials and TV show. So the Garfield and Friends TV show, it ran from the late 80s to the early 90s. I watched that show religiously. I loved it. The Garfield segments were really good. Lorenzo Music, who played Bill Murray's character in the Ghostbusters cartoon, he did a lot of other voice acting. The perfect voice for Garfield. Just perfect. You could not have picked a better person. Bill Murray in the movie was a really good second option, but Lorenzo Music was phenomenal. He gave Garfield the perfect amount of life, and the scenes with the farm animal buddies, they were really great too. It was just a great cartoon, which I would have liked to have seen run longer. But here's the thing about the Garfield cartoons in general. The Garfield cartoons are cartoons. There is silly slapstick, more so with the animal buddies, but they don't dumb down situations for kids. Now, I feel like a lot of cartoons right now, just in general, are high stakes. What's going to be the driving force? We have to save the world, which is a lot of them. And that's okay. That's a great and valid cartoon thing to be worried about. But when you have something as simple as, we have to take you to the vet, to me, that's more interesting because it's a real life situation. And I understand there's characters in these big cartoons, these larger than life scenarios, which you can identify with and relate to. But for me, I always like seeing an animated character do something that was more slice of life. Oh man, I hate these levels. I hate them because they're so hard. You have to go up and left and right, and if you fall down, you die. Ugh. Okay, well, we're going to do our best to not... Oh boy, that's fun. You know what's great about this? I get to go back to the right, do it all again, and hopefully not get hit by that dumb bird. So, this is a... Oh, good. Really fun. Really fun level. And I get, oh yeah, throw me right onto the plant and the fire. Okay. Sorry. So I like that. I mean, and again, it's personal preference, but I enjoy seeing an animated character where they have to deal with real world situations. And the good thing is you can, I guess the thing I'm trying to say is you can know there's safety in that they're a cartoon, and if something bad happens, there's no repercussions, long term or short term, and next week it'll be a different episode. But you can have a character that is sad one week and then everything goes back to normal the next week. And I know it's not much for arc, but I think it's important. It's an important way to deal with certain subjects. So the two Garfield specials, which are extremely underrated, are the Halloween special and the Christmas special. Now, the Garfield Christmas special, I'm not an emotional person, as I've talked about. You can go back last time. I told you the only 3 ways I can see, at least for a man to cry, are... Oh, great. Did we fall again? And now this bird's pecking at me. And again, look at this. There's no way to save that progress as far as going up. I might as well just die so I can start up there. So, the Christmas special, it's John, Odie, and Garfield are going to John's parents' house for Christmas to celebrate. And it's really interesting because John's brother lives on the farm still. He's almost, I want to say he's 24, 25, and there is a lot of that family dynamic. It's not all about Garfield, which I really appreciate. there is other stuff going on. And so it shows the family in a setting where they're celebrating Christmas, they're getting cookies baked, they're singing Christmas songs. And I feel like a lot of normal cartoons, they'd have these wacky hijinks where, oh no, the Christmas tree tipped over, the presents all got wet and we have to replace them and we have to do a Christmas charity concert. But it's nothing like, But it's nothing like... I'm trying to just tell the story while I'm playing the game, but you have to understand, I hate these kind of levels. They're infuriating. And it's just going to be me doing this for like... okay. Okay. So, it's just a lot of normal things that happen around the house. Cooking Christmas dinner. Hanging out with family that you haven't seen in a long time. Just little things, little family things that kind of get under your skin. Like, Mom, he's touching me. No, I'm not. My finger's near your face, but it's not touching you. It's really like that, which is a fun thing to see in an animated because your emotions can get bigger. And the scenario can stay small, but there can be a lot more, excuse me for using the word, but animation behind it. Not drawn animation, but personality and vocal animation. Like I'm about to do right now, where you're about to see my eyes explode out of my head because I keep falling. So, there's this one scene that's really, really sweet, where John's grandma is kind of down because I believe in the show, I haven't seen it in a while, she loses her husband around Christmas time. And Garfield is trying to get presents for everybody, and he finds the grandfather's old love letters in the barn or the attic or somewhere. And he brings them back and puts them under the tree for Christmas, and he sits on Grandma's lap. And she's just petting Garfield, talking about how her husband was a good man. And, they didn't have much, but he always provided for them. And on Christmas, they were poor, but they always, he always made them feel like the richest family. And just how she misses him. It's just a woman petting the cat, just talking about how much she misses her husband who passed away. Would you expect that from a Garfield cartoon? It is the most touching thing you will... I mean, if you're not going to watch the entire Christmas special, watch that scene. It is so touching. Again, I'm not an emotional guy. Oh my gosh, but I'm about to be right now. Look at it. It's just everything hitting me at once, and I'm falling. I'm not an emotional guy. But... it is extremely touching. Now, the other special I wanted to mention is the Halloween special. And I think the Halloween special really encompasses a lot of the best parts of the Garfield brand and franchise. Again, the cartoons, the comic strips were great in their own way. I think the animated series took everything that was amazing about the cartoon and took it up 100 notches. So in the Halloween special, it's really simple. Garfield and Odie are going to go out trick-or-treating. And what I love about it is that the whole episode, you'd expect what I see from a lot of episodes. A lot of hijinks, a lot of pranks, a lot of spooky monsters. About 3/4 of the episode is just about Garfield talking about Halloween with Odie, with John, going to the attic to get a costume, walking around being kind of spooked about all the costumes and everything that's going on. And one of the most underrated, criminally underrated things about the Garfield cartoons is the music. Now, I don't know what you would expect. I don't know what I would expect from these Garfield cartoons with the music they have. But let me tell you, they had the perfect mix. Whoever was the music coordinator for it, they did a lot of blues and a tiny bit of R&B.
Trick or treat, wouldn't it be sweet? Trick or treat.
Which was so great. It works so perfect. It's I can't even... It's just something that fits so well with the Garfield character. A lot of soul in it, which I know this is all sounding really out of character, but if you watch these, it makes total sense in a way that you never think about. All right, here we are at the second boss. I'm assuming he's throwing skulls around and we got a little hamburger for health. So it just works in a perfect way. Now with the rest of the show, it's not all this. And it's actually a little bit... I remember as a kid thinking some of the stuff was kind of scary. And there's really good gags. Garfield and Odie are walking about town. And they see some spooky ghost kids or some spooky people dressed up. And they're gags that I think you might expect. But they're done in a way you wouldn't expect. And they turn out really funny. And the responses are great. And this is what also works about the cartoon really, really well. So Garfield and Odie are walking around, and towards the end, they encounter a haunted house. And there's a supernatural element to it. There are some ghosts, but they're not in a way that's hokey or that's done in a way where there needs to be a lot of explanation or a lot of backstory. It's just one of those things where you see it, and it is kind of, it's I wouldn't say frightening, but it's very creepy. It's one of those perfect animated special things where it just works. And I recommend watching it. And here's the thing I also love about it. The characters have big personalities when they're in situations that are comfortable for them. But where it works, especially with animals, is that deep down, they're house pets. So when they're in these scary situations, their big personalities become small. And we beat this. Holy mamacita, thank goodness. So there's a scene where they're running from these ghosts and they're running to a dock to get to a boat. And you can see the change in how they run animation-wise, where they're not sprinting. They're just going to a different kind of speed. And Odie falls in through the dock. And it's not a big deal in comparison where, oh my gosh, there's ghosts. We have to get out of here. We're going to die. It's something you feel almost like a Milo and Otis or Homeward Bound movie, where I'm a little animal, this small inconvenience for you is a big deal for me. And it ends up being a really heartfelt Halloween special with a great ending. And there's so much more I could have and really wanted to talk about. The series of Halloween strips written by Jim Davis where Garfield is dead. The spin-off movie, Garfield and His 9 Lives, which has two of the most touching scenes, not only in animated movies, but just in general for me. I'm not sure why. But this was just let's say a first draft. Let's say a rough retrospective about Garfield and the importance of the character and the media to me in the most jumbled, unorganized, layman's terrible way possible. So if you stuck through this to the end, I commend you and I pity you. But as far as the game goes, great game. Really fun action platformer. Looks beautiful. Very fluid animation. You can see it when he walks and runs. Good enemies. Just a really fun game that's a quick pick up and play. It's only about 5 levels, so you can beat it in probably half the time it took me to get through 2 levels. But really fun. Highly recommend. A great nostalgic game. So with that said, this has been Game of Day. I'll see you folks next time. Bye-bye.
This is the night.
This is the night.
I'm gonna hit the street. 'Cause this is the night folks are giving away so many good things to eat.